Welcome on in. Thank you so much for those who are jumping in. And I have to just go in and add something that things that make you go, I do have to add that in. So just give me a minute to get started on that. Welcome to all who are tuned in. Thank you so much for tuning in, for supporting, for your engagement. You guys are definitely growing and talking and sharing, and it is improving the listener ratings and analytics on each one of my platforms. So if I have not said it before, I want to say thank you, giving thanks. On thanks on a constant basis for all of those who do whatever it is, the little bit that you do, whether you are tapping the screen, whether you are sharing out the live, whether you are commenting and participating, however it is that you show up, please know that I appreciate you. So I do want to say for just a moment that I need to add something into my notes that I need to definitely bring into this conversation because it just literally just happened in the industry 3.5 minutes ago. So since it just happened 3.5 minutes ago, I have to add it to my notes. So excuse the background. I could always, sing for you guys if that's something that you needed. Early in the morning. No, you would probably rather me just go ahead and report this Diddy Trial and definitely don't start a singing career. But baby, something that I just got 3 minutes ago just hit the industry. It involves 50 Cent. It is huge. And I am going to tell you guys about it after we talk Diddy Trial because it's all connected to the Diddy trials. But I have to put this in my note because if I don't put this in my note, by the time we get done with everything that we are going to talk about today, I may forget. Oh, that was some tea right there. And that is some messy. And you know how these things go in these Hollywood streets. Things can get extremely messy. What I would like for you guys to do, share out the live. Give me a second. Make sure that you share the live. I appreciate those who share the live. Tap the screen if you will. Daily goal has been set. It's a really simple one. I think that if anybody has the ability to be able to tap into the daily goal, I would highly appreciate you. So thank you so much if you do. And I wanted to make sure, let's try to maybe tap the screen to like 100. And you are going to want to hear, all the texts come out today. You are going to want to hear, go to the reporter mode. You are likely going to enjoy everything that I deliver to you today. All right, sorry you guys. All right, real start, real beginner here. All right, let's get ready for the recording of the podcast. All right, today I'm going to be recapping a courtroom outburst. Oh my goodness, you are going to want to hear the details behind that courtroom outburst and kind of some background story on who that individual was, what that was in regard to. You are definitely going to want to stick around for that. RICO evidence has now been established, is stable, it's holding its own ground today. RICO has shown up and shown out today. And I'm telling you, everything about how it is and what it's been has been right there in front of us the entire time. From witness one, the star witness, Cassie Ventura, this was right there in front of us. And then, the third witness didn't show up. And then witness number 4, listen, all of that has been very evident. So before they get to tomorrow's number 2, we now see pretty much everything that we need to see. And now we understand why number 2 was saved for such a later date. Witness number 2, not the star witness, so to speak, but Jane Doe number 2. Definitely, it is something that's probably going to come out in Jane Doe number 2's conversation and testimony that is going to solidify everything that they've been able to lay out so far. But, I told you guys that I would talk directly to you and that I would definitely share what I thought in regard to when they were going to be establishing RICO, and it was solid and it looks good. And the prosecution was able to show up and show out and do so. Thank you so much for getting to 100 taps. So we're definitely going to get into it. So hotel employee immunity, we're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about the former Combs Enterprise CEO testimony as we have it so far. And then I am going to give you the aha moment. There is an aha moment that happened, and the RICO sat there in our face, yet we decided to debate it on every level. Although the RICO sat there with us in this aha moment that happened in the Cassie settlement claim. All right, so definitely share this out if you will. Do me a favor. I started a little early, which is not fair to those who show up all the time to hear this talk. So if you will, just share it out and let's push it out to some more people on the algorithm. Let's go ahead and share the live if you will, and tap the screen. And then there's a basic major goal. You know, if you will just meet that, miniature goal that I set today for the live, I would highly appreciate it. And if you will tap into your daily heartbeat and share that with me, it does a lot for the growth on here. And I am forever grateful. If I don't stop enough to say how grateful I am, please know that I absolutely am. I want to shout out a couple of people. So let's definitely put on the readers to be able to just say hello. Abata, Jen, Mary, JM, JBM, Julia, Yvonne, Highlight Sin, Shelly, Grandma. I'm going through the names way too fast. Michelle, Zan, Mary, Arlene, Renee, thank you for stopping by. Klein, Sammy, thank you for users who decide to stop in when you are being notified about this live. Ginger, Edward, thank you so much. Mara, it's me. Joseph, thank you so much. Cece, thank you. I appreciate you. Major, Marcus, Harris, Roger Lee, Dinah, sorry, I don't have to do last names. Laura, Aloria, hello. Thank you so much for coming in. Zimbalis and Darian and Tank and a host of other people. I think we need to go ahead and get into everything that I have in my notes today. So I appreciate you. And for those who are wondering, again, what I like to do, I like to take the individuals who are reporting that they have their main source person in the main courtroom. Although we do see some interviews with people that are coming out of the overflow rooms, I do listen to and take notes from anything that's kind of has some solid validity to it. I will add those to the notes also, but I like to talk to the analysts and individuals and attorneys and press that are in the main courtroom. I like to go to those channels and report back. I don't do the read for read, line for line transcript here. I apologize for those who do desire that. If you will, it's public and available for anybody to find and to do so. And what we do is just do what, I do. What Dee Says the podcast is available in the link in the bio. You can click it and tune into everything that I've done since 2010. What Dee Says the podcast is available. You can also read my book, so you can click the link on YouTube. Link is in the bio, and you can participate in all the things that I do, which is a lot. And we won't go into that right now, okay? So there was a report coming from the press that was inside the courtroom today, and she says that the person was taken out of the courtroom due to an outburst. Now, this happened prior to, interesting timing of this outburst, happened prior to the prosecution requesting a phone call of the logs from the phone calls from Diddy. Now, you're going to see later in something that I'm going to share with you why the prosecution feels that they need to have these phone calls. But I'm going to go into it in different times throughout this, notes, but you will see why. You'll tie it all into what they need these phone calls from the jail cell, because they are trying to prove this thing and a part of RICO, and they need to be able to have this. Before we go into anything, let's make sure that we go, because there's always someone that comes into the live. So we will define RICO just because we're going to bring it up quite a bit today. So let's go into my legalese, paralegal. This is something that, I want to make sure that we're staying on topic with at least the definition of, right? So RICO stands for the Racketeering, Influence, and Corruption Organization Act. It's a U.S. federal law. It was enacted in 1970 to combat organized crime, okay? It allows the authorities to prosecute individuals involved in criminal enterprises. I think I used the word just a minute ago. I meant C-rhyme. Criminal enterprises, even if they didn't directly commit the C-rhymes themselves. To be charged under RICO, a person must be engaged in a pattern of racketeering activity, which will include C-rhymes like F-fraud, bribery, money laundering, drug trafficking, unaliving, and others, okay? The law was originally designed but today it is used against various criminal organizations. I'm saying corporate fraud, fraud cases in political, F1 in the chat, and political corruption. Okay, all right. So there we go. So that's breaking down RICO, so that we can go ahead and move into today's notes. All right, because there's always that one super brilliant person that comes and argues back and forth in the live about whether or not it's RICO. Okay. Now, that outburst happened from the individual in the courtroom, happened prior to the prosecution requesting the phone calls from Diddy, all of his jail calls. They want to be able to present those jail calls to the jury to, solidify their end of the case that they're presenting, right? Prosecution does say that those calls are going to corroborate Mia's testimony. They say due to the defense presenting the Mia birthday video, this is going to make their request for these phone calls fair. They are claiming in the phone calls, what they believe that they can reveal in the phone calls is that Diddy orchestrated, according to the prosecution, that they say that Diddy orchestrated the now infamous birthday video that we saw on IG with Baby Love. I'm telling you, I have gone over that. I need the brilliant minds of my chat. Why in the world does anyone have any idea? Why in the world would they care that Sean P. Diddy Combs, who loves all 7 of his children, we've seen him be, daddy daycare all across social media over the years, right? So why is it that daddy daycare Diddy, why do they need to know and to prove in the phone calls that Diddy orchestrated the now infamous birthday video that we all saw on the Diddy Instagram platform with Baby Love that happened after Diddy was locked up? Because we just see that adorable baby sitting on the countertop with her adorable siblings, and all they're doing is just saying happy birthday, daddy. So I just don't know why the prosecution feels that that is very important, but they said that they need that. There is something that happened in those phone calls. We do remember after that birthday video, and they were trying to just solidify these charges and this indictment and what they had him for, trying to get the court date. We do remember back in those days, just a few months back, we remember how they were going over and over, and we remember that is when the judge then said, look, here, the computer can be in the cell room, and he can have the computer and, go. There was allegedly some kind of a shakedown of his room that went down. Remember that? And the shakedown of his room revealed some things, and then there was this binder, and they say that it was Diddy's binder, and it said this belongs to Diddy on it, and then they said it wasn't his binder, and all this confusion happened, and then they decided to put the computer inside of the room with him, and then they begin to do what is really feels like an intense monitoring of his room. We also know that the news reported at some point that he had the calls come out where allegedly they are accusing him of using other criminals' phones. Yes, I'm saying it like that on purpose. And he was using the other criminals locked up with him phone, and that was something that he is not allowed to do. Right? A lot of that. But maybe all of that is why the prosecution says today, look, we need those phone calls from the jail cell because Diddy orchestrated that birthday video that we saw with the children singing happy birthday. We need you to, I don't know. Last time I seen Baby Love, let me tell you, Baby Love was so adorable. The last time we saw her, she was in a video with Big Brother, King Combs, and, she was swimming in the ocean. So I really, not literally swimming in the middle of the ocean, but she was out there having a good time with her siblings. So I don't know it just seems like so much comes from this. And, let me insert an opinion for a minute. There is definitely something odd about how the birth of Baby Love was just so secretive for a very long time. It was extremely secretive. All right, detectives in the chat, did you guys give me anything? Did y'all say anything? Y'all have nothing? Y'all can't figure out the birthday thing either? Man, I thought at least one of y'all would know. Like, okay, that's all right. We're going to continue to move on. I can't figure it out, so I have nothing on that. All I know is that they want those phone calls, and it is surrounded around this orchestrating of the birthday video. We have to move on. All right. So the courtroom outburst, that's what I told you guys that I would break down for you. Now, I have to go back and forth in the notes because so much of it happens on so many different platforms. I follow official press of 5 and 10 people almost. So the official press that go in the courtroom, I don't like just one voice. I like to listen to all the voices of the official press out there so that we can kind of gather everything that one may have left out. Okay, so Elizabeth Miller says this, that the jail discussion was going on when the outburst from the woman happened. This is what she's reporting in her excellent reporting and delivery that she does. So she says that that outburst kind of happened at that time, that the person has been removed from the overflow room prior to having that incident today. So this is a known problem. How should I say it? A known person to cause issues during the trial, right? Okay, and I'm sorry, you guys. Let me check something right here. Thank you so much. 537 people stopped by. I appreciate you so far. Okay, so that she was a problem person, and she was also prior removed from the overflow room. They say that this person had an MTA jacket on, that this person was seen wearing this jacket often, although they don't know whether or not it's associated with the person that, is she associated with MTA? Don't know, but they did say that the person was wearing the jacket. They also said that she was cursing during today's removal. She was cursing, she was yelling. One news platform reported that 3 marshals removed her, but they actually report from Elizabeth Milner, who is sitting inside the main courtroom. She said that she saw 4 marshals grab the lady, and that she also is reporting that the lady yelled, "Go ahead, use your pew-pews on me." And it was a very disturbing outburst coming from her. She has now been officially dismissed from the courtroom, and Judge Subramanian just did what a judge does. We know this judge by now, right? We kind of get a feel for how he is. He just said, I'm just kind of imagining, since we don't have cameras inside of the courtroom, so when we get the reports from the press, we have to just go with our imagination, right? But he just kind of looked over like, and just moved right on, right? So it says that the judge really did not address that outburst at all, right? Now, they do have a problem with the blogger that's been sitting inside of the courtroom. They say that the blogger was seen doing a live report outside the courtroom with their camera live on their platform, and that blogger used Mia's name outside the courtroom. And because that blogger did that, because, it's one thing for... We are not attached to the approval of being inside of the courtroom. We are not attached to the prosecution. We are not attached to the defense. We in no ways know anyone on the jury personally. We don't have conversations with the jury, and we don't talk to the judge. So we out here in these blogger streets, we can have conversations often about, any parts of Mia. And if we wanted to say the name legally, I've already asked an attorney, are we able to say the name? And an attorney said, yeah, you guys can say the name because you're not attached to the case and it has no bearing. But we've all made a decision that we're not going to say her name, right? But this blogger is sitting inside of the courtroom. So because the blogger is in the courtroom making problems from all of us in these blogging streets, she actually, or he, used Mia's real name throughout her entire live, and was standing outside of the courtroom in close proximity to, and is also known for being a person that sits in the main courtroom with the jury, Diddy, the host, right? Just the prosecution, defense, everyone, right? So they have now dismissed that particular blogger, who is no longer allowed to come. So if you have been following that particular blogger and they are no longer giving you really good updates, it's because they've been kicked out and they are not allowed to come in anymore. Let's get on back up to... I'm sorry, I went up to Monday. Give me a moment. I'm going to go to Tuesday's notes. All right, so back up to Tuesday, right? So they also say that the defense, credited by legal analyst Candace Kelly. I want to make sure that I'm quoting correctly. So the legal analyst Candace Kelly, she was sitting on a platform just a few hours ago. She's a media law professor. And she says regarding the defense of the cross that everyone's talking so much about Mia, her opinion, she is a legal analyst. She is a media law professor. And in her opinion, Candace Kelly says that the defense did a good job at the crossing of Mia. So what do you guys think? Did defense cross Mia? Speak up, chat. Did they cross Mia? Do you think they did a bad job? Anything like that, let me know. Daryl said it was Armand. Interesting, right? All right. So, what do you think? Someone, R. Collins says yes. You feel that the defense did a great job. Our defense was not scared. An excellent job. I do think that Steele did an excellent job doing whatever it is that he's already proven so many times before that he's so good at, right? So, yeah, I think an excellent job was reported back regarding defense as well. So that's good. So lots of good feedback out there regarding the defense on that, right? Good for the defense team for sure. And I'm just all about people in this profession who are just doing such a phenomenal job on both sides that we can see that their careers are definitely going to take a turn for the better going forward when this case is well over with, right? All right. So the credibility of witnesses is showing some weakness at yesterday's point in the trial. There was a lot of weakness that was happening, right? I want to ask you guys, out of the RICO that I just discussed, which 2 of the 5 do you think that they're going to give Puff at this point? If you don't have an answer in a moment, I think I have an answer. I think I know where they're going with this. I think that what they are doing, Sean P. Diddy, Puff Daddy Diddy Love, Combs, Puffy is going to need a pardon. But let's just move forward and just see if we all agree on that, okay? But it's given after this morning testimony. It's given. Pardons rain down on Diddy. Bad boy is in need of a pardon for sure. All right, so listen, prior to the testimony of Eric Garcia was an interesting testimony. So I just want to back up for a minute and talk about Eric, right? And he is the hotel employee. Well, Eddie, I'm sorry, am I saying his name right? Eddie. Is it Eddie? I think it's Eddie or Eric. I'm sorry, y'all. That happened to Charlamagne the God also. So look, maybe it's just the Eddie Eric thing. I don't know. I'm going to leave it alone and just call him Intercontinental Dude. I am so sorry because I don't want to be saying the wrong person's name because he said he's been in these TikTok streets hearing his name. And that's when he got involved. And I'm going to tell you all that in a minute. So listen, R. Cullen says he's not receiving any money, so there's no RICO. Listen, the money, it came out. I'm going to tell you. I'm getting to it. So he worked at Intercontinental location of the Cassie Diddy 2016 hallway incident, right? He testified under immunity to revoke his amendment against the self-incrimination. And you are going to hear this obvious incrimination in just a moment, right? So he's making sense as he testifies. And this is what he was a part of. And this is how he got himself into some trouble. Okay. He actually was approached by the eds, kind of F-eds. He was approached by the F-eds, okay, in 2024. But instead of delivering what happened in 2016, when the F-eds approached him, he didn't. And he says something totally different. So that is why he's under immunity with his testimony. Because, yeah, he needed a little something so he didn't go down in them streets, right? So he testified that Sean P. Diddy Combs paid him $100,000 in cash. Hold that, write that down in your notes. You will need that in a minute. He split, according to his testimony, the Intercontinental employee split the money with other persons, right? The Intercontinental employee of the $100,000 in cash, he says that he only pocketed $30,000 that day, right? He also signed an NDA. And when I tell you who he sat down and signed that NDA with, we are going to stop asking, is she coming? Because she's coming. And I bet you $1.50 of any, I bet you she is going to be coming under immunity. Because her name has been brought up so many times. And when I tell you in just a moment who gave him that money, you are going to say, go ahead and guess in the comments. Who do you think gave him the cash, right? Yeah, right. He signed that NDA, right? So who do you think gave him the cash? If you're unaware, some people may already be aware, right? So that was his testimony. So He admits that he was not honest when law enforcement came to him in 2024. They were questioning him about the Intercontinental Time and incident of Cassie and Diddy in the hallway in 2016, and about the video and about what happened and how did y'all get rid of the video and why it was never presented to law enforcement. All these things and questions were asked, and he didn't tell the truth in 2024. That was prior to, thank you so much, Britt Reborn. The mod has reached level 19, showing out in them level 19. You guys make sure that you follow the host. Please do join and give me your daily heartbeat, and I would love to see you reach the levels as well on here, right? So he didn't do what he was supposed to do last year around this time, and because he didn't, he found himself in some hot water. Now, we all know that he likely didn't have that $30,000 to drop back in her hands, and I'm going to tell you who her is in a minute. All right, today, Derek Ferguson is on the stand. Now, he is the former. Here we go. We're about to have a RICO conversation. Let me go back real quick. I know it irritates those people, but I have to do this because I've had experiences in the life that I have to give you. RICO, again, Racketeer, Influence, and Corrupt Organization Act. To be charged under RICO, a person must be engaged in a pattern of racketeering activity, includes C rhymes, fraud, bribery, money laundering, drug trafficking, and unaliving of persons. That was designed because of the math, Aya, getting in trouble all the time, and they had to create that, okay? So Derek Ferguson comes in and lands RICO. I'm going to just tell you right now, he landed RICO, okay? He made it real stable and real clear in the streets, okay? So I know. Man, I had that question also in one of, I saw an attorney ask about Foxworth Bentley. I'm reading Helena's question, and man, they said that some of the names that we're throwing out when it comes to Foxworth, when it comes to Gene Deal, and when it comes to Suge, a attorney that's not working this case, but an analyst on a podcast said that we are throwing out names that are more going to be entertaining for the sake of media and entertainment, and that would have no validity in this case. And I just sat back stunned. Like, are you serious? How is Foxworth not going to be valid? But again, I didn't understand it until right now when she said that. In this case, now I see why no Foxworth yet, okay? I'm sorry, you guys, if I got a little unstable. But let me tell you why Foxworth is not coming, because let me tell you where I have it. I found out why they had RICO, and I told you that I would come here on my live. So if you have anyone else that's been asking the question, go ahead, listen. I want you guys to hit the share button. Get ready to write this down, because I have now, and when I got it, I wanted you guys to see it so that you can see how they arrived at RICO. So Derek Ferguson is on the stand, okay? He's the former CFO of Combs Enterprises this morning. Now, the testimony is going to lay out, in this testimony, you're going to see RICO, you're going to see bribery, I'm saying these words like this because of the algorithm, the bribery, the CMO activity, the flow of money, the pointing to RICO. You're going to see it happening in this testimony, which is actually not expected to last very long, because they are going to be going on to Jane Doe, witness number 2, tomorrow morning, according to how they laid that out in their sidebar conversations that were reported back. All right, so did Diddy use the bodyguards? This was what was brought out today and asked of the CFO. Did Sean P. Diddy Combs use his bodyguards? Did Sean P. Diddy Combs use the employees to facilitate transactions? Okay. And then they were asked, they basically are going over the fact that they're going to have to prove this in order to lead to the RICO. And anything that they have on this case, they need to prove this. Well, here's how they were able to prove it. Stick with the hotel. I want you guys to land at that hotel. Put your flight on the hotel and do not leave. Because I parked my private jet at the hotel. Okay, and I'm not leaving anymore on this case. And there's a reason why, because you are going to see how important that Intercontinental incident is and how they were able to arrive at RICO with just that alone. Okay, so the prosecution asked Derek Ferguson this, okay, how long did you work for Sean Combs? Y'all not ready for the dates. Y'all are not ready. How long did you work for Sean Combs, they said? And he said from 1998 to 2017. He is testifying for the prosecution. Ouch. So the prosecution said, did They asked a question about Diageo. You guys tell me if I'm saying that alcohol wrong. Okay. They asked about Diageo. They asked about Ciroc. Okay. And they asked about the Amex cards and how all these things were funded during this time. You know what I did? I had to go get a sip of tea. I had to go get a cup of tea because I understood the assignment when they started talking to the CFO. And just because I've worked in the admin world, I've sat in board meetings with CEOs and CFOs, and I know how this thing go. I've been in really uncomfortable meetings when all these kind of things are brought up. I've heard attorneys speak in board meetings with my CEOs that I work for. I've heard these things come up, and I knew what was happening when this started. So he says, what about the credit cards? They said, how was it funded? And Ferguson CFO answers inflows. Okay, so the prosecution goes, well, what about the credit cards? Did Mr. Combs have Amex? Did he use it for personal and business? And this man testified and said yes. Go ahead and cry. Go ahead and cry. Get ready to have your, oh, what a good life bad boy had. Go ahead and get ready. Because listen, they also questioned about him carrying cash. And they said, how did you track that, right? And did others, staff members and bodyguards and the staff members also carry cash? Kind of questioning was asked. And Ferguson is going, yes, 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 right? And so they said, did he support other people from the personal earnings that he had? And then they said, yes, definitely. From business earnings, yes, definitely. Ouch. CFO is definitely a person to bring to the stand. So attorneys are reporting in their analyst reviews on different podcasts that this is what's happening. This is what some professional attorneys are saying. They say that this is leading up to tying up the RICO activity with this line of questioning that we see happening right now. They also talk about that $100,000 in cash that was given to the Intercontinental Garcia. Where did the cash come from? It came from, I'm going to tell y'all in a minute. Y'all, when y'all find out who gave the cash, maybe I will say this. Why Diddy? Especially when you find out who gave the cash, right? Then I do ask, why Diddy then? Even though I know the answer to why Diddy, I'm still going to say why, because technically there's a technicality that the defense can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that their employee was not involved. This is where the defense is strong as well. Prosecution is strong today. Defense has a move also. So RICO, if it came from the business to support the criminal activity at the hotel incident with Cassie, definitely bribery is involved. Now, suggesting that he is using Diddy, they're suggesting that he's using the company resources. He's using the staff positions. Let's just have fun with the staff names. We're talking Capricorn Clark. We're talking, even this CFO is talking today, Ferguson. We're talking KK. and KK, I'm about to talk KK in a minute, right? We're talking all these different people, including Cassie. Were they used for activity that would be considered under RICO? Okay, so the jury also, let's not go to that yet, right? So they're just basically throwing out, this whole company resources, staff positions, Foxworth, they didn't say that. D-Rock, they didn't say that. But I'm just saying, all the people that are known staff members of, bodyguards of, people like that, always holding on to cash. Where did the cash come from? Did it come from the business? Oh, okay, he pulled it out the ATMs and from the accounts of. They've been going over the sheets and sheets and sheets of transactions. This is where they are leading to this whole RICO business, right? Now, let me do a sidebar note for a minute. The jury has been talked about. They are passing notes to each other, especially something that was really caught by the jury is an uncomfortable kind of cringe thing that happened. The jury are being reported back from different people from the press inside of the courtroom that they're passing notes to each other, that they were seen smirking. Which one, the men or the women? Smirking during the Mia testimony. And is that problematic? Attorneys were asked on different podcasts, and the attorneys answer back, yeah, that's pretty problematic. They say that that's really not a good look. Discussing the case before given jury orders from the judge, according to the attorneys that have been talking on the podcast, they say that could be a really huge problem in a case like this. So that is interesting to say the very least, right? All right, so I talked to you about the CFO. I'm sorry, I should have said CFO, not CEO. Former Combs Enterprise CFO. I talked to you about the hotel immunity guy. And oh, let me give you my RICO and my AHA. Do we have enough time? Let's see if I have enough time. Mm-hmm. Oh, good timing. Good. It's going really well today. Looks like I'm going to be able to get to it. All right. So, okay, let's go back to Garcia. 33 years old. Something that was said about Garcia as well. Now, according to Eddie, here's what Eddie says happened to him while working at the Intercontinental before tapping in and cashing in and getting his 30K of that 100K. Here's some of the things that he says happened to him. Here comes KK. Eddie says that someone first called him, and he remembers that the person that called him was Christina Coral. Or, yeah. Am I saying her name right? It don't matter. Diddy Bad Girl. The Diddy Bad Girl. That's what we're going to call her. The Diddy Bad Girl. So KK was nervous as to, Eddie says he was nervous when KK called him. Like, how did she get my name? How did she get my number? We have seen in all the other testimonies that she has her moves, baby. She knows how to get things done for the Sean and the P and the Diddy Combs. And she does it very well. So how is she not called into the court yet? We have no idea. But I think she's coming. But will Christina talk for the defense, or will she talk for the prosecution? If you see Christina get introduced on that platform to testify, and if you hear the defense, no, let me tell you this, prosecution will wrap soon. If prosecution wraps without Christina, the defense has won this trial. I'm just letting you know now. It's enough laid out to see that, okay? So if prosecution doesn't call KK, the defense is going to win, because if KK sides with and testifies on behalf of Sean P. Diddy Combs for the defense, this is a guaranteed upcoming win for the team. And congratulations, while we're talking about the defense team, to Teeny Garagos, because your daddy was on a platform and your daddy spilled the beans, girl. Your daddy told you business. You're preggers, and congratulations to you. Okay. So Garrigo's daughter is pregnant, but she's doing well, working really well on this case in the midst of why? Because women, we have superpowers. All right. So he claims that KK called him. He doesn't know. He was real nervous about how did she get my name? How did she get my number? He claims that he testified that KK said to him that her employer, Diddy, this is what he testified, allegedly, was said by KK. He alleges that KK said to him that Diddy was intoxicated. He alleges that KK said to him that she would like to purchase the videotape. She RICO'd her way into them intercontinental streets that day. She said that she would like to purchase the videotape, right? And then KK, he says, offered money from $50,000, and they were negotiating and they were going back and forth. So they were really cutting up in them RICO streets, and they were going back and forth. And then they settled, according to the testimony of the intercontinental employee, they settled, Eddie says, and they settled at $100K. And that is when they did a split between several individuals. And then he, under immunity, admits that he took $30K from that settlement. Okay. Now, KK, in them, very alleged RICO streets, allegedly asked him to sign an NDA to not discuss any of it. So once handing over the money, it was handed in cash. During that transaction, you still have your plane landed over there at the Intercontinental? Because I told you to park there and don't leave. During that transaction, she also said, here, I want you to sign this NDA. So now once the money goes from KK's hands, the real RICO dirty hands, when the money goes from KK's hands, allegedly, over into the employees of the Intercontinental to purchase the video and to get them to sign the NDA to be quiet, yes, RICO has happened in that incident. However, her employer was not with her at the time. So the defense has really proven beyond reasonable doubt for sure at this moment that Sean P. Diddy Combs had nothing to do with whatever that was that KK was on. Okay. I'm just saying, just the way it looks out in the streets with all the legal experts, saying similar things, right? Okay. So Eddie says that he saw the CNN video. He's sitting and watching TV. Now, he's sitting at home. He is sweating. He is nervous. He starts to see this video happen across CNN. He's at work. Everyone's talking about it. Oh my gosh. He knows that he has something to do with that. And he's definitely knew that the feds was coming to his door, right? He says that he was shocked that the video was available because he thought with what they did in 2016 that they had cleared the streets. It's more of that I know what you did last summer began to happen to him because he realized, oh my, this is not as empty and far away from us as we thought. Okay, again, everything that I just told you in that testimony, and especially in regard to what's happening with that activity from KK's activity as an employer for Sean P. Diddy Combs, her activity is definitely bribery. Her activity is underlying the C rhyme of racketeering. Okay. Now, does that mean that Sean P. Diddy Combs is guilty of the same? That's his employee. What his employee does when she goes home in the go home streets and clocks out don't have anything to do with him directly. And she could say that I did this on behalf of, but did she really? Just because she says a man's name that she works for doesn't mean that he has anything to do with it. I'm just being fair in that innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, beyond reasonable doubt activity, right? I'm just laying it all out. Just being fair is what I try to do, right? So the defense crosses real quick, and they do an exhibit of the NDA. They kind of over talk, for a minute the exclusion of the NDA was shown. They do the non-disparagement portion of the NDA. They just kind of talk it all out, brief, nothing else to really say. Too heavy on that. Still did ask, asking Eddie, did you go to law enforcement at the time? And Eddie says, well, at 2016, I didn't go to law enforcement, but paraphrase, but in 2024, the feds came to talk to me and I did tell everything that I knew, right? And at that point, you guys, listen, let's get over to 50 Cent. That's pretty much a break in testimony at that moment. So we are going to talk for a minute about questions that were asked of attorneys that are speaking on platforms as, official legal analysts on conversations, right? And they were asked questions like, should the prosecution bring in Suge Knight? And this kind of lands under the same questioning that were asked by another, to another attorney about Foxworth Bentley, about Gene Deal. Should the prosecution bring this individual in who is eligible to negotiate immunity? Because just because Suge Knight knows all these things, I see, we see you trying to come home, Suge Knight, ET phoning home from 2,500 miles away from the Diddy trial. We see you. But listen, I don't know if you know this, and somebody go ahead and pass this on in them Suge Knight locked up streets. Listen, they said that you are not automatically eligible. According to the experts out there, they say you're not going to be automatically eligible for immunity, bruh. They say that you are, it's not going to be automatic immunity given to you. You're eligible in a sense, but it's not automatic, nor is it a guarantee. And I'm thinking that once he finds that out, Suge Knight going to calm down in them streets. Look at that, you guys, 333. It said 333 people. So let's look up the number 3. What does that mean? All right. People tuned in. Thank you so much for everyone tuned in. Let's take a look at the comments. There's no RICO. Diddy is paying out and not receiving anything. R.S. Collins, you're responding to Eric, right? Right. I just don't see proof that he gave the money. The cash came from a meeting where the employee says that he met with KK, and KK approached him about paying him. And KK was defending, claiming that what she saw happen or what she, whatever. She's defending her employer and saying, hey, something happened with him and Cassie. I need you to kind of do this NDA. And that's really common in those Hollywood streets, right? Someone says something that's not true. So he's definitely not at home. KK did not testify. There's been no testimony from KK yet. Some people just come in here to say whatever, right? All right. So I'm going to move on. All right. Some people. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. All right. So that was that question I was asking. He's not going to get automatic immunity. Suge Knight, he's eligible for it possibly, but not automatic. And if you know anything, did you live in the 80s? Did you live in the 90s? Were you a part of hip hop? When did your relationship with hip hop started? If you tell me that your relationship with hip hop started 3 weeks ago at the start of the trial, please dismiss me from opinion on that, right? Listen, if you don't know, you don't know. Okay, so Christina Corum is an employer former employee of Sean P. Diddy Combs, maybe, possibly still an employee of, employee of Sean P. Diddy Combs. Whether or not, no problem, whether or not she will actually testify is huge, girl, because we know her name has come up all throughout the trial. Okay, so, and she's done things that are very RICO-ish in nature. So because of this, you may have gotten your boss in a situation of making him look like he's guilty of RICO because you keep going out there and doing these negotiations and paying cash and NDAs and covering up and saying all these kind of things. And you make him look bad because KK's name is brought up in the phone call that happened during the Kid Cudi incident as well, right? Somebody says, okay, so pass that over to Suge Knight and let him know that there are some attorneys that said that he is not going to get automatic immunity just because of this talking on these reporting, interviews and things that he's doing from, his calls that he's doing into Pierce Morgan and ABC and all these different people that he's been calling into, that he's not, looking at even being called in. They said it's more entertaining for the media to talk to Suge Knight and that it really has little to do with what they need from this particular trial. So I found that interesting. And I think because Suge Knight, unless he wants to say something and talk about something, he's not at the hotel. And again, if you look at this particular trial, you could tell that they're pulling RICO off of what happened with the hotel. It was in our face from the whole moment. That's why I want to talk to you about the aha moment on the Cassie settlement. So here's the aha moment that I came up with, point of view, opinion of Coach D Shields, okay? Follow the host if you will. Click and follow the host if you will. Also, if you will, YouTube link in bio, podcast, What D Says, the podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. If you will, support everything that I do beyond and before Diddy trial discussion, right? All right, so I'm a paralegal. That's why I'm interested. I'm not a paralegal working on this case anywhere near it. I just happen to have an interest in all things legalese, especially high-profile cases that professors will talk about for years to come, like this one, okay? So the aha moment on the Cassie settlement is this, right? Someone, in my opinion, let's specify, I'm going back into the Ray J. Before I give this opinion, let's go back to Ray J because some people were not here. They may not know what Ray J had to say. So let's deviate for just a minute. Y'all stay with me. I know y'all hate when I have to repeat, right? But let's go back to Diddy real quick. The Ray J interview on Pierce Morgan. He says something feels weird. That's a Ray J quote to Pierce Morgan. He says something feels weird about the Diddy trial. He also says that, we know he's talked about him, how he felt about Diddy. He also said they need to let Diddy out. He also said that they need to free Diddy. This is Ray J. He says that they will let him out. He feels like everything is coming out and we're going to see soon that Diddy will be let out, according to Ray J. He says that he also said in that testimony, I'm just scrolling through notes, I apologize. He says, we need to chill, according to Ray J. This is what he said to Pierce Morgan. They need to let Puffy go. He also talked about, what happened to him. And, he said that Diddy had nothing to do with what happened to him with the boys and everything. They worked it out. He says that he knows that it's a dangerous business that's going on. He said that multiple high-profile celebs have been paying Diddy and trial victims to keep their names off of this trial. That's something else that Ray J said. And that Diddy had nothing to do, again, with what happened to him. He did say that, but he did say that a lot is happening, that there's some really huge people that are trying to frame Diddy. That's kind of, paraphrase of Ray J. And he said that the favorite stars that you adore don't want their real stuff to come out, and that's why they're trying to make it all Sean P. Diddy Combs. All right, so we have to go back to that talk, then get back over to what I was trying to share just now, right? So the aha moment on the Cassie settlement. Just don't forget Ray J. Someone, obviously, if Ray J is right, brilliantly encouraged Cassie to file the claim. Okay? So if Ray J is right and that person that he said that we all adore and we're going to find out that they're involved, if Ray J is right, that person or group of persons encouraged Cassie to file that claim that we saw in 2023. And it's apparent, you guys, if you don't have this, if you have not arrived to this, I'm just saying, look, I've arrived to this. It's apparent at this point that it is an orchestrated move for sure to take down Sean P. Diddy Combs. That everything that people and this is when who knew that we would sit in 2025 and use sentences like this is when Suge Knight makes sense. But let me go ahead and cough that sentence out. All right. This is when Suge Knight makes sense. That just feels horrible. All right. It's apparent at this point that this is orchestrated and that people knew how Diddy was, he says, before. So why is he all of a sudden in a RICO trial, right? And that's something that Suge Knight said. And that kind of makes a little bit of sense, right? All right. I'm getting to it, you guys. You guys get so impatient in the comments. All right. So by her, thank you for coming by. Impatient or not, know that I appreciate you. Giving thanks every day for anyone who tunes in. All right, we read where are we at? 500 and so. Let's see how many today. 5.6 thousand stopped by. I appreciate you. All right, so by her filing the claim and the Instagram admission of guilt. Remember that video? Diddy sitting there and he was very sad faced and he had the brown shirt on and he admitted that the things that he had done that we saw on the CNN video were very, very rude. No problem. Thank you, Mystic. And that, remember when Diddy was crying in the video and he was like, I did this to Cassie. I was wrong. And then hours after he put that Instagram video up, they did a settlement. They somehow said, got him. It was the got him moment for them, right? So then they say right after that, that's when I was like, you know what, you guys? They filed the claim. They get the Instagram admission of guilt from Diddy. The settlement happens hours later. Boom. They've got him. They have him on RICO at the hotel alone. If anything else, they have him on RICO. So they think. But here's what happened. You have the head of security in the head of security testimony. You have the video, the now full video of the entire 50 minutes without the edited version, cuts and splits that happened on CNN. The full video is now available on YouTube. The defense gets stronger. And then you bring this person, prosecution subpoenas this guy to come in and talk about your 30K that you took, but Diddy didn't give you the 30K. KK gave you the 30K. And that's when it gets, so again, if the prosecution does not pull KK on their side for testimony and the defense has KK, the defense will win this case. Write that prediction down. Come back and tell me later, I will tell you if I'm wrong, but that's where I feel right now, right? All right, so they can now move forward on the RICO of Puffy. They have it. They're like, okay, I got it. He did that, admission. Cassie pretty much everything that you've seen the prosecution lay out matches everything that was in the Cassie claim. Everything that you see the prosecution laying out for you for the last 3 and 4 weeks has been everything that Cassie talked about in the claim. So this is definitely a case where they are trying to lean this one incident of that happened that night in 2016. They know what you did last summer, Diddy, and that is where they're at with this, right? All right, so they can move forward with RICO, and that's what they did. So bribery, coercion, racketeering, all of this took place in just the hotel, you guys. Did RICO happen at the hotel? Anyone disagree? Please let me know. Did RICO happen at the hotel, chat? Do you think yes, no? Did RICO happen at the hotel? I think that your thesis is spot on there. Thank you, Mystic. DV, definitely. But remember, when it comes to DV, who said that? Big man, DV could be taken to state. They didn't need to go to Fed for DV. They could have took that to a state court. They had, that's just domestic and civil in nature, right? Mystic standing strong with no. Big man standing strong with no. Rachel says yes. It's getting like really uncomfortable in those RICO streets, right? Okay, so all of the other mentioned moments from Cassie, the Cuddy incident, do you think that was RICO? On Diddy's behalf or maybe his employees' behalf? The Drake concert incident when they went to see Drake and whatever happened and he was upset, and then the bed frame and then the hit on the bed frame and the cover up, and then they had to call, that was in Canada, and they had to call in quickly, bring in the plastic surgeon person who then said in his reports and talks and everything that it was looking like Cassie was just intoxicated and hit her head on the bed, right? So all of that, right, from that Drake concert incident kind of night. They were in town for. That's what she was in town for. And then the countless other claims from her alleged experiences that she's testified in, not just this, but in the claim that she did in 2023, where she talks about the AB and the DV and the essay. They're all surrounded by incidents of what appears to be the coercion, the bribery, the fix it, here's the money, here's the, I'm sorry it happened, please don't tell, please, don't talk kind of thing. All right, let's arrive at 50 Cent. We're going to land with 50 Cent. If you want to come up, I will let you press the microphone, definitely to come up. He had all of his employees do the dirty work. Someone said, Rachel said, find you, but that's an accusation. There is no solid proof or video or anything that's been presented other than hearsay, Rachel, for someone to say, my brother made me do it. We've seen that in so many different trials before. My sister made me do it. My grandma made me do it. That's just hearsay, right? Okay. Find you. Statute says statute of limitation was reached for DB, so they had to go another route, which is where the RICO. Well, here's the thing about New York and is it even California? They didn't really finalize the ability to. I'm not going to say that yet. Let me look that one up and we'll find you. I'll come back and look. There's something that happened with statute of limitations laws that kind of shut down for this year, but in the year of her claim, I think it was still allowed. Somebody says free Diddy. T says he will pardon. T basically said, that quote that came from the Preezy from the United States was like, he said some things about me that hurt my feelings. He was a really good friend from before. And 50 Cent goes and posts the video of when Diddy had to say whatever it is that he had to say. 50 Cent puts an opinion on Instagram like, you should not be talking too much, buddy, because here's something that you said on Revolt TV, and now that's coming up, right? So, man, So here's something else that I wanted to tell you about with 50 Cent. This just happened a few minutes ago. So he posted on his Instagram an interview with the infamous Punisher testimony, right? So the Punisher is on a podcast, and we've seen the Punisher since his testimony. The Punisher has been talking and talking and talking, just getting it off his chest. He has a lot to say. He suffers from ED. That's his words, not mine. So because he has no other time to let out that, all that extra tension in his body, he's been getting it out on getting his word out in the streets on the podcast, right? So he's been talking, and he did an interview, and 50 Cent kind of shared something that was asked of the Punisher. And they asked the Punisher, did you paraphrase, just go to Instagram, and if he didn't take it down, I'm pretty sure 50 Cent didn't take it down. What does he take down, right? So they asked him, did you do your whole, I can't say that word. Did you do your yellow stream on 50 Cent's baby mama, Daphne? Man. And 50 responded to that. So I'm sending y'all over to Instagram because it's too toxic, it's too nasty, it's too much. But go over there and see how 50 responded to that when they asked Punisher that. And now 50 Cent has something to say because his baby mama was brought up in that interview to the Punisher, asking, was Daphne there at the time of some urine? And I don't know. I can't unpack that because I'm going through working on unpacking this RICO, okay? But y'all could go over there to 50 Cent and run and go have fun with that if you must, all right? Sounds like everything that's being said here. No, Rihanna, let me tell you something. If you want to come in here and accuse us of condoning, that's you. We have a discussion on this platform. We've been doing so since the trial started. I've been here since before anything was said in the trial. I have been here having a discussion on everything regarding just been here, right? So if you hear celebration of, and it is really disgusting that anyone can even take a look at someone like me. And if you read my first book, link in bio, go read, because I'm a plug. Okay. So if you read any of my books, then you will know what I've been through. So when you can come in my platform and try to act like I would condone something like that, because I have to sit as a paralegal in criminal discussion streets and talk about things that I actually have personal experiences with. So if I'm a survivor of DV, not at one point do I say, oh, yay, Diddy, go do this and do more of this. So if you got that is perspective speaks ethos as how you retain information on the Diddy topic. That would mean that you are settling with things that I've gone to therapy for. And my therapist has a therapist that has a therapist. And I have a life coach that has a life coach that has a life coach. So I have dealt with mine so that I can sit and be able to have these conversations about some really disgusting things that do come from my life before. But because I went to do my healing work,
I highly encourage that you do the same. Someone said block you. I think she should stay for the lesson. I think I should preach a whole sermon. Because I'm a DV survivor that can sit and do this trial. Don't talk to me. That's what I want to say, right? Don't talk to me. But I'm not going to say that. Thank you for coming by. I highly appreciate you. All listens are definitely appreciated beyond the bottom of my soul. Thank you. Heed her. Appreciate it. So that's when I said my aha moment, you guys. Did you guys have an aha moment with everything that we broke down today? The Cassie settlement, for sure. The Cassie settlement definitely opened up my eyes to going, yes, Ray J may not be wrong. Someone may, who knows? Who knows? Cassie, just think of it like a little scene in a cartoon where the devil is sitting on one shoulder and the angel sitting on another, right? And we know that Cassie rode with the devil in her lifetime many, many different times before. And that has nothing to do with Sean P. Diddy Combs. But she testified to some activity where she was definitely riding with the devil on her answers, right? So because of that, she did testify some of the parts where she enjoyed. She talked about that. She talked about the love of different things like that. So we know that, yes, there's a part where she was being forced, but then there's a part where she didn't walk away from the lifestyle, and she admits to many opportunities that she did have, and she chose not to because she wanted to save her career. That's what you hear us talking about, how there's a moment where she talked about her career, not her safety, as for being her reason for staying, right? So when it comes to that, yes, we do come to the aha moment that someone brilliantly definitely said, hey, Cass, what you could do, you could take what you've been through and let's go file some claims. And I know that if you file these claims, someone knowledgeable about the system perhaps, and said, if you file these claims, I know that they are going to be looking at him, because we've heard him say over the years that he's looked at. And look, let's not forget, we have to go all the way back to the documentaries and the stories and the revelation of and the many interviews and unpacking the life of Sean P. Diddy Combs, being this child that is the child of parents that are involved with Frank Lucas, right? These kids are young and they like to come and counsel you and talk real fast and say something slick. So let me just send them to watch a movie, because they're not going to research anything. They're not going to read a bunch of documents. So why don't y'all go watch American Gangster, right? And in that movie, that particular person, his lifestyle, he was associated with the father of Sean P. Diddy Combs, allegedly, right? And also associated with the mother of Sean P. Diddy Combs, right? So with that person being like that, they're going to watch him for a lifetime, because he's under the guise of the direction of mom, who they suspected as well. So he's always known, kind of hints at it playfully in his music videos. He's always really known that he's being watched, right? So they knew this person, whoever stood behind Cassie, whether it was Alex Fine, whoever stood behind her and said, let's go run and get this money. They knew by doing this that this would put them on top of Diddy, that this would make them go RICO. And almost immediately after November, she files her claim. Diddy does his Instagram post where he apologizes, admits that he is guilty of the CNN video moment that we saw leaked to CNN. And he admits that that's me and I shouldn't have done that. And he admits that it was horrible, whether it was accountability or narcissism, we do not know. We're not his therapist. And then they move on to a few months later, the month of March. And there's a raid of his homes. And then they began to build a case. And then they started, according to all the witnesses, we were approached between January and February. We were approached by the FEDs. And they say that they came to them and they talked to them prior to the videos of the now viral raid moments that happened in Miami and California. All the witnesses that are subpoenaed and are talking are saying that they were approached by the FEDs between January and March. So again, that definitely says that the FEDs, who probably have watched him for years, the way that they watched Dr. Martin Luther King, they definitely watched him and said, okay, we're getting them now. That Cassie thing, that's enough for our RICO. And so they then go into the raids because they need to have that. We see the testimony of the persons that were a part of those raids and all the mistakes that were made, and how a lot of that, the judge may even say, once he gives his instructions to the jury, what he's not going to even let you base your decision on. So we all know that the judge is the only one doing any directions to this jury in this particular trial. So he may say, I don't like that. They didn't fingerprint They admitted that they didn't do any fingerprints or anything to prove that Sean P. Diddy Combs was at those homes. All that has come out in the testimony, right? So that's when they go, well, look, yeah, at any given time, this is possibly RICO, but I don't have Sean Combs for RICO. I have Cassie Ventura for RICO. I don't have Sean Combs for RICO. I have Capricorn Clark for RICO because of the things that they admitted on the stand. I don't have, Sean Combs for RICO. If KK comes up, Christina Quorum comes up and talks, we have her for RICO, but we don't have Sean Combs, right? And so, and the bodyguards and all that may be being implicated. D-Rock allegedly is supposed to be being called up because his name has been mentioned over dozens of times during this trial. And so they look at that and they go, well, okay, Cassie does, her thing. They raid the homes. And in September 2024, they pick him up. And not because he was being picked up and was evading in any type of way. He actually says from his people and his attorneys that represent him said that he was actually, I think, the main attorney on this particular defense case out of the 9, the main attorney, I don't know how to say his name, so I'll say Attorney A because I don't want to mess up his name either. He said, look, he was in town to turn himself in, right? And so, but anyway, they pick him up in the lobby of the hotel with this whole constant need of dramatic incidents with him. And it does seem like maybe Ray J is right. Someone bigger wants an embarrassment of, wants the confidence, the cocky, the arrogance that we have seen over the years of Sean P. Diddy Combs. In their opinion, they want that to be humbled down. They want humility to take place, and they need that to happen expeditiously. And they seem to want his humility to take place in 2025. Once again, the year of 9, look up the number 9. I've told you about it. Do the numbers, add up 2025, the year of 9. All right, someone said throw away the key. They don't like them. Very evident in your comment. Wow, I just can't get that emotional about someone that I just don't know them like that. I'm never going to know anyone to hate them. So I don't, how y'all arrive at hate, I just tell you, church. Can I tell you to go to church? I follow a pastor. He's phenomenal. And I believe that his messages can help you work through some of that stuff so that you can arrive at these topics and these conversations and do less hate and more love. I don't know. Like maybe that, I talked about with one of my guests. If you missed that, YouTube link in bio, comedian LJ, we came by and we talked about what's the lesson, because again, it was a quote that came yesterday from, who said that he was a hero? Do you guys remember? Look at me in my notes because I'll have it in my notes and forget. Someone said Monday called him a hero. Who are we talking about? Let's go back over that real quick. All right, hold on a moment. I'm still here. I'm trying to remember who called. Okay, so we talked yesterday about how Snoop Dogg was they asked Snoop Dogg about Diddy, and finally the celebrities are coming up. The celebrities are talking. Let's just recap that for a minute. So the celebrities are talking. Do we have time to recap? Oops. Went over the time. Okay, that's okay. I'll do it real quick. So Snoop Dogg, the celebrities are talking, and Snoop Dogg answered to a podcaster, just asked him, what do you feel about the Diddy trial, or maybe paparazzi, whoever was asking. And he says, look, I learned from Diddy how to be a better person. I learned from the times of, he's kind of dancing around where, the whole were you there? Anyone that's been a vision, anyone that can see, Ray Charles probably the only one that can confirm that Snoop Dogg was around these persons at the time, right? But, anyone else could say, yeah, he was around all the time. What does he feel? So he answers and he says, I learned to be a better boss because of some of the things that I saw. He said of the worst things that I saw. That was his quote while answering the Diddy trial questions, right? And then Jamie Foxx called him a nasty MFer. Kind of. They kind of misquote that in the media because here's what happened. Jamie Foxx was doing a stand-up at the Comedy Store over this past weekend. And he called Diddy a nasty MFer. Sure he did. But this is what he said. He said Diddy's fall from grace, it hits really hard for the Black community. And I have to agree with him. It's hitting the community hard. And he said, he did a joke in that same comedy set where he said that the YT folks probably still think everything's all good with Diddy. But he said, we're clear in the BLK community that Diddy this is a fall from grace for sure. And, Jamie Foxx says that Diddy used to be a hero, right? And then he went into a line from Life, y'all. He didn't call him a nasty MFer per se. He quote the movie Life, and he said, he kind of did the Claude. Remember when Claude called Ray a nasty MF? Remember that part in the movie? That's all. That's all he said. So y'all don't take that too far. I'm sure that stand-up will be available for us to take a look at soon. And then we talk about other, C-lister celebrities. Let me stop before Suge send his people all up. And let me stop. You're A-lister, Suge Knight. Okay, this your moment. This your time. So Suge Knight, chief hip hop competitor to Puff, the nemesis of Sean P. Diddy Combs, he says that Diddy's Smeg's appetite was an open secret in the hip hop community. He claims that Puff made it hard for Capricorn Clark. This is Suge Knight talking in an interview over the last few days. He talked about how Puff made it hard, in his opinion, for Capricorn Clark. Now, Suge can talk on Capricorn because Capricorn Clark came, or Cece, I like to call her because her name is difficult. Cece came from Suge Knight. She likes to say that the night that she testified that the night that she went to Central Park was the day that she got hired by Sean P. Diddy Combs, and she went to Central Park that night, and Diddy scared her, allegedly, she says in her testimony, and he said to her, you won't leave this park ever. I don't know what that was about, but she says, her Central Park 2 moment, that's happened, and Diddy threatened her, and because he found out that she knew Suge Knight, but she says that she told, I only know him because I know Suge Knight, baby mama. Cece said what she said on the stand, and that's over, right? And so Suge Knight says, well, Puff made work hard for Cece. Suge Knight claims in his talks and interviews over recent days that, Cece was not able to work at Universal when she applied at Universal. She was not able to work at the talent agencies when she applied. He also said that she was not allowed to work at movie agencies. This is a person who is the co-founder of Revolt Film, and Capricorn Clark was not able to get work even after co-founding Revolt Film, right? And, Suge Knight also said in his celebrity response, he said that if Puff makes a call, your career is over. So that's kind of just the highlight of some of the celebrity things that are being said out there. Suge Knight, I will point out, his name has been mentioned 50 times in the trial, but attorneys and experts are saying that other than being entertainment and a distraction, they don't really see anything relevant to Suge Knight coming to talk other than some hearsay. Suge Knight did say something, and I am so tired of the sounding like we're quoting the mentor of the year when we talk about Suge Knight, especially with the history of, but everybody can change. So the prodigal son, not. So Suge Knight says, I feel Puff can do so much good right now by telling the truth about the industry. Well, do it for him. Puff's locked up. He's in the middle of a trial, Suge. You do it. You tell the secrets that you know from the industry, and please try to do so in less of a dementia rant, because half of the times when I'm listening to the things that he says is so Alzheimer in nature. I am trying to keep up with the Suge Knight interviews the best that I can. Brent says, in my Cat Williams voice, Jamie better be careful. That mystery illness, Jamie better stop talking about Diddy on his stand-up for sure, because it's not Diddy. You know how you can have that crazy fan? You guys seen that Swarm series where the fan was just so insane every time she heard her person's name, which we know that series was written loosely based off of the fan base of Beyonce that tends to be a little too crazy in those streets, and they tend to do things that Beyonce would never condone. They say things that Beyonce would never say, and that's kind of like one of those moments. Like, Jamie, stop before one of those Diddy fans come and say something or do something and hand you an ad bill again, right? But Jamie Foxx is funny, and I actually thought that the stand-up he did that released in January, he was going to be done talking, but apparently he is not. And he had a stand-up this weekend at, let me quote that correctly, the Comedy Store, where he talked Sean P. Diddy Combs. So I'm sure that will hit some kind of streaming service soon. All right, you guys, did anyone want to say anything else? Did I make sure that I made it as available as I can for you guys to be able to do so? Did anyone want any kind of thoughts? I will give you like a 2 or 3 minute little window. Want any kind of thoughts? I will give you like a 2 or 3 minute little window. If you wanted to jump into queue, if that was not available for you before, I apologize that. But if for that, but if you like to throw in a thought, let me know. If not, we're going to go ahead and come to a close. to throw in a thought, let me know. If not, we're going to go ahead and come to a close. I think we did really, really well. Sort of, because I like to wrap it up in 45 minutes and we went over, but I think that we covered a lot. And tomorrow, allegedly, supposedly, they will be talking to witness number 2, right? Let me see. Someone's comment got shadowed, but let me see if I can read it. You know what? I just tell you guys I'm a fan of, innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. I'm a fan of beyond reasonable doubt. I like to see all the evidence laid out. This is an 8-week trial. This is expected to last for 8 weeks. Let's go back again and look at the schedule. We talked about the schedule yesterday, right? So, it runs 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. The time frame is 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's the court time frame. We saw the Memorial holiday was observed May 23rd, May 26th. They were not in court, so that kind of sets it back already a little bit. Also, June 19th, so Juneteenth is here. So, of course, on our holiday, they have a holiday coming up. There's no trial on that day. So, because of all of that, there will be trial on that day. So because of all of that, there will be at least a dragging out of 8 weeks, right, happening when it comes to the trial. So, there's a lot to get in that time frame. And I know the judge has seemingly been working really, really hard on staying on time so that they can get through that time frame. Because if you have not heard, baby, if you have not heard, September 1st, so much is changing. Okay? So much is changing. So much is coming. And we just don't have time to talk, Diddy. Baby, because so much is happening by September 1st. If it's just they're making a lot of changes in the world. And things are not going to be allowed. Things are not going to be. I also received a list today. They have a new rule, and it's pretty much being enforced in a lot of spaces. There are names that you are not allowed to name your children anymore. Have anybody heard about that? Say yes in the comments or no. If you have heard the story, I won't tell it. But if did you know that there are names that you're not going to be able to name your children anymore? So a lot of changes come in on September 1st, and someone said no. Yes. So there is, I will get clarity for you when you come back tomorrow, and I'll try to get the exact states and counties that it's in. But you are not allowed to name your child king. You're not allowed to name your child queen. You cannot name your child Messiah. You are no longer allowed to use symbols and numbers for your child. For the name of your child, there's a list of things that's coming where it's just a movement where things are going to be moving differently. All right, I see some people in the queue. I'm going to hit if you are actually trying to come up or not. You probably are hitting accidentally, but if you are trying to come up, let me know. Find you. Are you trying to come up? Scarlett, are you trying to come up? Scarlett, are you there? Find you. Are you there? Dana, are you there? Find you. Are you there? Dana, are you there? I know. See, that's what can happen. I can put people to sleep. Okay, but they say, there are people that say your voice puts me to sleep. Okay, I understand. That's $1 billion voice on the microphone. Okay, and okay. All right, and okay. All right, so yeah, that is crazy, isn't it? Cray. I'm sorry, cray. That is crazy. F1 in the chat. That's okay. Find you. She says an accident. Find you. Thank you. It's okay. It happens. It's okay. Find you. She says an accident. Find you. Thank you. It's okay. It happens. I'm tapping on people's screen all the time when I'm visiting. So I keep asking, I'm not going to repeat what you said directly, Queen, but I will say this. There are many people that have done many of the things that they are definitely highlighting and pointing out. Why just Sean P. Diddy Combs? That is a valid question. Why? Right? We will land on that. Okay? We will actually take it out the park with just that alone. Why? What is it? What is going on? Why? And then take a look at my video on my timeline. Did you see what I said about the prosecution? Something that they said yesterday leads me to, many people that heard that said yesterday in the transcript, if you read it also, the way that that was worded is like, oh, not just Sean P. Diddy Combs' trial. Oh, the other trials coming up. Oh, big names as well, which takes us back to the Tony Busby comments where he said many, many claims are happening where many people are involved. And he said it is celebrities, it is business owners, bank owners, and, true, because if you look at some of the busts that have happened, the Florida, 255 people picked up. Of the 255 people that were picked up in Florida, did you guys see that bus? When they picked them up in Florida, 2 Fridays ago, when they picked them up, the chief said one of the persons worked for the Red Cross. The other person was a manager at Walmart. The other person worked at an international airport. They had names on names on names on names in that pickup. 255, and he showed all the photos. If you missed that presser from Florida, you definitely want to go and check it out. I'm talking names on names. I thought, oh, he's just saying that they're looking at them, or he's just thinking that they're. No, he said these are people I picked up and they are now in clean. I heard a very good, well-respected podcaster say something. I heard a very good, well-respected podcaster say something, and I thought, you know what? That's just it, you guys. When it comes to this trial and everybody that it could very possibly involve in the world of the judicial system, in the world of justice, it's one of those things where they had to grab one, because if they went to grab them all, it's messy. It's so messy, according to this well-known person that said this, he said that it would unravel the way that we do business in this nation. It's that messy. Now, you let that sink in when you go buy your shoes, when you go shopping today. The very store that you buy your shoes in today, the very store that you buy your groceries in today, the very store that you buy your clothes in today, when you go driving down the street, when you go pull out some money out the bank, like the names are like that. And because of this, that is why they're like, okay, let's just pull this dude, and let's see what we can do with this. And then we're going to put this all the way to sleep, and we're going to move on. That's what they're saying, because it's that messy. Man, it's just so much going on, so much going on. So I appreciate you guys so much for coming by. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate everything that you contribute and add to. This is huge. Thank you. Giving thanks for everyone that does stop by. Let's do that number real quick. 14.5 thousand people stopped by, 24 new followers. You guys are gifting, and the numerous comments as well. So much going on. Thank you so much for coming by, and take a look at the reels in between so that you guys get to see some of the, I posted some thoughts, and people say, when you're doing your podcast, we don't see you. Well, I come from the podcast era where we weren't always on video. So when I'm recording my podcast, I'm reporting on 4 different platforms, right? So I'm sorry if that upsets you guys, but I do make sure that I stop every day and I do a visual live talk to you. Sometimes I'll click on my Instagram and go live. So go over there, click follow IMD Shields, wherever it is that you like to tune in or stream or talk or have good connections and relationships with content creators. Those are the spaces that you can find me on, so you can find out more about me. And then maybe I would love to say that you're not going to be so mean in these streets, but I just saw what you guys did to 803 Fresh, and I'm going to call you out. You're wrong. I'm just going to say this. I'm going to say that you can go ahead and go over to his platform and follow him. That is, for those who do not know who 803 Fresh is, I am highly impressed by, not just him, but just the song and everything that's been coming out with that. It's just such a movement. It has touched the lives of millions all over the globe. With him fans, whoa, boots on the ground. So go over there and support 803 Fresh. You guys, he needs all the love in the world, because everything that he has brought. Did you see when Beyonce stopped
and performed it in the middle of her concert at Cowboy Carter. Like, he's doing some phenomenal stuff. And I hate to see that nasty that comes with the industry is now beginning to happen to him. But let's send that brother a lot of support, a lot of love. He is uniting people, and he is causing laughter, and dance lifts the moods of people. Music like that is always uplifting. So listen, because he was able to do that, I believe that, he's protected and he's covered. And I want y'all to go shower that man with some love. 803 Fresh, we appreciate the song, the music. Keep it going, keep it coming. All right, I am out, you guys. I have so much more to say, but I can't today. I'll be back tomorrow, same time. Thank you, Lady J, for coming by. I will post the full recap of this. It'll tell you in a few on YT.